Hi, I'm Maija Luttinger, and this is No Bucks Given, the podcast where we have honest conversations about the horse industry. From breaking down myths by unpacking the actual science behind them, or debating both sides of a controversial social issue, No Bucks Given is the equestrian destination where we get to the hard truths around what matters the most, how to best advocate for our horses. All right, welcome back to No Bucks Given. Today, I'm here to talk about something very special to me, which is my journey from being a college dropout to becoming a six-figure equine body worker. Today, joining me is Allie. She is the producer of this podcast, and she's been with me for the last year and a half of my journey, and she's really such incredible support to me in my business, and she's actually just off of maternity leave, so her baby, Isabel, is going to be joining us for the podcast. You might hear just a little bit, but it was very generous for both of them to make time in their day to join me. So Allie, thank you so much for taking the time to interview me on my business. And Isabel, thank you for being here for your first podcast as well.
We're both blushing. Thank you so much for having us back in front of the mics on the pod. Maija's story is amazing, and we're so excited to share the background of your journey with the listeners of this podcast, because I think it's one of the most asked questions we get is how did you start your business? How did you get to where you are today? So really excited to dig into that a little bit. So just to kind of start at the beginning and give some scope for our listeners, you went from being a college dropout to becoming an equine body worker with a business that generates more than six figures annually, which is a really tough thing to do in this business, in this marketplace. Can you take us back to the beginning? How did you first discover equine massage therapy?
Absolutely. So my part horse, Wesley, who I talk about a lot, was an off-track thoroughbred. And anyone who's worked with or known an off-track thoroughbred knows that they have unique struggles in their body, and there's a lot of discussion as to whether that's genetics, whether that's how tough their life is at the track. I'm sure there's some combination thereof. But Wesley came to me with a lot of issues. Now, he was a very wonderful horse. And I also want to be clear about the fact that Wesley came to me with issues in his body, but when I pre-purchased him, we spent almost $2,000 on his pre-purchase exam. We pre-purchased this horse to the nines. So I actually think that could be a podcast in and of itself. This wasn't a horse that I just got off of a random trailer and had all these issues. This was a pretty nice horse that my mom was kind enough to help me buy as a teenager. She wanted me to have something safe, which, like later in our story, you'll find out that he was not a good choice for the safety aspect. But he had a lot of issues that we didn't realize because he didn't have any issues come up on the pre-purchase. But pretty quickly, we figured out that this horse had a lot of behavioral issues that seemed to be caused by pain. And that's when equine body worker that my trainer at the time knew pretty well came into the picture. And she made such a remarkable difference in Wesley. And it was so interesting because, we had all this recent diagnostic work. And this horse was only 11 years old and had gotten basically every joint in his body injected. And none of them really made a difference until Catherine, this body worker who I'm still friends with today. And she's wonderful. I have never seen Wesley look so relaxed as when she first started working on him. And when I rode him, I had never felt such freedom through his body as after she had worked on him. And the interesting thing about her was she specialized in myofascial release, and it really didn't look like she was doing a crazy amount. So she wasn't one of those people who popped a horse and made these loud cracks. She wasn't someone who had any sort of fancy machine. It was just her in her hands and, a lot of her intuition, I would say. So that was the first person who got me really, really interested in body work. And the interesting thing about Catherine, too, is that she was the first person to look at me and really tell me, this is what you should do. She always really encourage me that direction, even when other people told me like, oh, equine body workers don't make any money, or, it's a really hard career. She was always very quietly just like, I really think that this is your calling. And I remember speaking to her after I dropped out of college, so I'm fast forwarding a little bit, and she did give me some recommendations and got me started that direction. So I would say Catherine and my journey with Wesley is really who got me inspired into bodywork. And then when I started learning how to help Wesley throughout his life, because Catherine actually didn't live anywhere near us. We lived in Iowa and Catherine lived in Aiken at the time. So she was able to make one trip out one time, and she worked on Wesley and a bunch of other horses in Iowa, and we would see her in Aiken once a year. But we really didn't have the chance to have Wesley see her a whole lot. So she taught me how to work on him, and I did just the few things she taught me over and over and over again so that I could help him as much as I could. And that's when I found how much I loved it, and I started to think like, this is really what I want to do with my career. Everything kind of happened all at once to like align me into this really, really cool path. So, basically I got Wesley when I was 17. I was a junior in high school. I graduated high school, and my parents are both PhDs, and they really encouraged me to go to college. What my mom said was that I was too smart to be a massage therapist. So, I listened to her, and I went to a year of college. And in that time, I was still riding and competing Wesley, and I was just kind of doing what I could with him. We were not having much success, to be honest with you. His body issues were definitely rearing their ugly head, and we, didn't really have much help. So I was turning to resources like going to my local library, reading books about equine massage therapy and like horsemanship and lunging and corrective exercises, and basically anything I could get my hands on. But there wasn't a lot that I could really do to help him. He was only 11 or 12 years old at that time, and we were injecting him a lot, which at the time I didn't know was degenerative to his joints because they're steroidal injections. So basically I started to fail with Wesley a lot. We were getting eliminated at every competition. It was getting pretty bad, and I fell off a lot. The next thing that happened is I kind of took a few different courses in college, and I really enjoyed them. I really love learning, but I was not really sure what I wanted to do. There wasn't really any one thing that stuck. And I kind of was structuring everything around this is what my life would look like with horses if I did this job or that job. And I remember I finished my first year of college, and I walked into my dad's office, and we were going to look at my courses for the fall semester for the next year. We were going through these courses, and him and I were chatting. Maybe if I took this courses, I could be a lawyer. And if I was a lawyer, I could pay for nice horses. Or maybe if I took these courses, I could be a doctor. And if I was a doctor, I probably couldn't ride my horses a lot. And finally, my dad just said, it sounds like what you really want to do is just ride horses. And I was like, well, yeah, of course that's what I want to do, but it doesn't make very much money. And he said, well, why don't you try? And I was like, what do you mean, why don't I try? You've always told me horses are a rich person's sport and we're not rich. And he said, yeah, but at the end of the day, most people are miserable if they're doing what they think they should do and not what they actually want to do with their life. And he was like, I think that you need to take a year off and go try to ride horses for a living. And I basically walked out of there, and I called everyone I knew, and I did eventually get myself a job out on the East Coast. So I was 19 years old at this point, and I called this woman, a 5-star eventer, and I knew she was pregnant, and I called her and I said, I'm going to ride all of your horses and take care of your barn for you while you're pregnant and while you have your baby. I'm going to make this transition super easy for you. Because I knew of her, and I knew she was a good rider. I really wanted that job. And she said, okay, come out, drive out and interview. So I drove out. It was the first time I had ever driven more than 2 hours by myself. I drove 15 hours straight through to get to Pennsylvania. And I interviewed with her, and she offered me the job, and I drove straight home. And I literally threw all of my stuff in trash bags and I put Wesley on a trailer and I moved out. So basically my dad told me to go ride horses and I just left Iowa immediately. Well, I was like, you do not have to tell me twice. There's basically like a little dust ball behind me.
I mean, God, how many horse girls just wish their parents would be like, yes, go chase your dreams, ride horses. You can do it. So props to your dad, especially, being a professor.
Yeah, no, and that's the interesting context I didn't mention earlier is that my dad is a college professor. And what he said was he sees so many kids come through his classes in college and waste years of their lives and thousands of their dollars because they think they should be on a certain path instead of just figuring out any way possible to do what makes them happy. My dad's a really cool person. He has tried every step of the way to get me to quit horses because it's not his thing. But in the end, he has been really supportive of it being my passion. And, the other funny thing is that he definitely, and he'll admit to this now, he thought that I would take a year off and come right home and go to college, and I would figure out that I didn't want to work with horses. And other people in my life at the time, they told me that I would only last a month or two out on the East Coast and I'd get homesick and I'd come home. Well, joke's on y'all, because I've been here for 7 years.
Which is the dream, right? Like, I wish more horse girl stories ended the way yours are, which is kind of why we're here today, to help, other people realize that there are pathways to having careers in equestrian businesses that are sustainable, that you can have a full-time job and work with horses. I mean, honestly, props to you.
Props to my dad, too.
Yes, and to your dad for believing in you. At least, before he secretly wished that you would fail. But
he mostly wished I would fail as a kid. Every time I would fall off, he'd be like, it's time to quit horses, right? And I'd be like, nope. And he'd be like, damn it.
Okay, so then just to circle back, I want to talk more about the rural aspect of where you lived. And like so many of us, I'm from Texas and have a similar issue. There just aren't a lot of professionals that we have access to in certain areas of the country. And so for something as game-changing as massage was for Wesley, you seeing your equine massage therapist once a year just really wasn't going to cut it. So you had this job with a 5-star eventer. From there, how did you decide to make the jump to equine massage therapy? And what resources did you find in your area that helped get you into that education?
So, when I was working for Allie, I talked to Catherine and I was like, hey, how can I learn to do what you did? And she was basically like, haha, there aren't really any good schools. Most of us just kind of like figure it out as we go. And I was like, how the fuck are you supposed to figure it out? How do you just learn how to massage a horse by yourself? That doesn't make any sense. So I was like, you have to give me something here. And so she looked up online and found different equine massage schools. And so she sent me one and I signed up for it. And it was just total garbage. Love you, Catherine, but it was a bad recommendation, which in her defense, she told me, she was like, I haven't taken this. I don't know anyone who's taken it, but from the outside, it looks good. It was not good. It was not a good course. It taught me a grand total of, I want to say, 3 massage strokes and literally nothing about palpation, assessment, nothing like that. It did teach me a bit about anatomy and the muscles, so that was nice, but it was a pretty worthless course and it was $1,300. So I did go through that course while I was working for Allie and 5-star eventer, and I tried stuff out, and I did really love working on the horses with the little bit I knew from them and from Catherine, but I did realize after working for Allie for a little while that I, A, wouldn't be able to be a groom forever, and B, I did need to figure out a way to support myself either in the horse world or outside of the horse world. So Allie actually suggested that I go to human massage school because we couldn't find a good equine massage school. So I found a school for human massage therapy and I signed up for it. I started to experiment as I went through human massage school with adapting the techniques to work on Wesley, and he kind of became my lab rat, and he really, really enjoyed that. And I really quickly started to see him blossom. I started to see him really enjoy getting worked on. And also, I think my favorite part at that time, because I wasn't learning a lot of super targeted specific techniques, but I was learning massage in general and touch. I just saw him really enjoy spending time around me and be super, super attached to me. And so that was just really, really lovely. And it was really nice to be able to just go to the barn and spend quality time with him where he enjoyed our interaction as much as I enjoyed our interaction. While I was in massage school is when I met my two mentors. I met a mentor for human massage therapy, and I met a equine myofascial release mentor. And then I met a couple of other people through the horse world who were really good business people who were kind of acting a little bit as my business, like friends and mentors as well. So I worked with all of those people for another, after I started working with them while I was in school. And then after I graduated, I worked for another year. The interesting thing that happened in the interim that I actually have never talked about before is after I graduated massage school, as I said before, I didn't really have a lot of friends, and I wasn't working with that same boss anymore that I originally moved out for, so I didn't really have that network. And I had this really bad situation where I had a really bad falling out with a roommate, and I actually really wanted to come home. I was really over it. Like, I didn't think that I could make a career for myself being an equine massage therapist or a massage therapist at all. I was lonely. Like, I missed my family back in Iowa, and I didn't really connect with anyone. I had been out there for going on 2 years at this point, and I just had no sense of community. And to be honest, like, Wesley was going well and we were having fun, but it wasn't, what I thought it would be either. And I just felt like I wasn't ever going to make it, which is like pretty funny because I'd only just graduated massage school. I had barely even started my business, but I think because I hadn't really seen anyone do it super successfully, I just had no idea how I would do it successfully. And I called my dad and I told him that actually the first person I called was, of course, my mom. And my mom was like, oh, yes, come move home, go to college, live with me, move Wesley home. And so, I started packing up my stuff, everything. And then the second person I called was my dad. And my dad was kind of like, okay, like, I don't know, but okay. And I actually had packed up all of my stuff and had told everyone I was moving and had made arrangements for Wesley to move home to Iowa. And I was ready to just give up on the idea of being a massage therapist or having a career in horses at all. I was actually enrolled in courses in college, and I was just going to figure out something else to do and do some office job and support myself. And right before I made my final move home to Iowa, my dad called me and basically said, you need to tough it out and do what you went there to do. And he was like, I think that you would do great in college. I would love to see you home in Iowa, but this was not what you were supposed to do out here. You need to stay out there and you need to figure it out. But the really key thing about what my dad told me, and I think that so few people do this for other people, and I even notice I sometimes don't do this for the people I care about, is that he believed in me and he believed in my ability to struggle and figure it out. I think a lot of people love someone a lot and they want to protect them from struggling, and they want to protect them from feeling sad and feeling lonely and feeling like a failure. But my dad believed in me to be able to do all of that and come out on the other end and do what I needed to do. And I'm so thankful he did, because I wouldn't be here without that.
You're not allowed to do that to me. I'm postpartum. That's just not fair.
Yeah, I love my dad. He's a tough ass on me, and he constantly humbles me. I'm so thankful for those 2 moments in my life where, I'm thankful for a lot of things he did, but first that he told me to go and to do what I wanted to do, not what I think I should do. And second, that he told me to woman up and fucking figure it out, and not to come home and not to do the easy thing, and that I knew what I needed to do. Yeah.
So many people need to hear that, and that's so beautiful that for you it was your dad. We all want that support from the people we care about the most, and look where it's gotten you. We would all be so lucky to be able to work with horses every day. That's just so beautiful and amazing.
And it's an important part of my story, because I think a lot of people look at me and they think, she was in I made six figures in the horse industry as a 24-year-old. Like, I'm so lucky, and I had so much success so early on, but there were really hard times leading up to that. So anyone who's listening to this who like might look at me as like maybe like an overnight success or someone who is lucky in their career, which I absolutely am, but there are going to be times that feel so rough, and it's probably genuinely going to be hard for years. And that's okay. If you believe in yourself, you have no idea what you're capable of. Like, I never in a million years thought that I would get to like have my own house and get to live in this area and work with horses every day in the way that I do. So yeah, if you're listening to this and you're just hearing like the highlight reel of my story, there were hard times too. And there are times that you are going to want to break probably, and you're going to want to walk away from what's really hard. But if you're listening to this, you need to woman up and figure it out.
I love that. And, I love that you're out here trying to help people get ahead of some of these setbacks that you faced while you were building your business, because it's almost two jobs, right? Because you are practicing your trade of equine massage, which is a whole special set of skills. No one therapist is exactly like the other. But then you also have to be a business owner and take the steps required to set yourself up for success in the business sense. Just to go back to your story a little bit, what is the timeline and what were the major milestones that from when you started your business to when you eventually hit six figures?
Yeah, so I graduated massage school 2019. I started working at a spa, and I continued to work with my mentors until COVID hit. And then once COVID hit, I started to lay the groundwork for my business. I started a website and I started my social media and I got my business licenses and everything. I started to get set up that way and do, I started to do some business education. And then I continued to work at the spa for a little bit, and I just kind of slowly started to pick up clients here and there. And then, throughout the summer and fall, my business did start to pick up a little bit, and I was still working at that spa. And I finally decided that I wanted to make a go of it. And I talked to my boss at the time and I said, hey, I'm just going to take like a month off and I'm going to see if I can do this. I can work with horses full time, probably won't work out, but I just want to take a month off. And she said, yeah, sure. And I remember I had saved up just under $2,000. It was enough to keep me and my horse alive for a month. And so I was like, okay, I have about $2,000 in my bank account and I can figure it out for the month of November. And that was November of 2020. And ever since then, my business basically exploded. It was really cool. So, that was November 2020. In 2021, I gave that seminar I talked about in February that picked up a lot more businesses, and I made my first trip down to Wellington to see clients. And that was really cool. I was able to go full time pretty quickly, and that was really, really fun. My next milestone, so I got to go to Wellington. My next milestone was, I think I remember the first, I remember the first time, so I tracked all of my money in a spreadsheet, and I just got to kind of see my income, crawl up. It went from, $2,000 a month to $4,000 a month to $6,000 a month to $8,000 a month. And I was, super, super happy. It was so cool. And I don't know, I had so much fun. And I remember finally feeling, more secure income-wise. I started dating Cody, who's my now fiance, and I remember I was able to buy my own car, and I was actually able to buy it in cash. And that was my first car that wasn't an absolute rust bucket. That was a hand-me-down from my dad. So that was really, really cool. That was a big milestone for me. And then I was at my dad's house for Christmas, and I was in the shower, and I had just posted a video on Facebook. It was the first video I think I ever posted on Facebook about hamstring massage I did, and I got these messages from all over the world, like people saying, oh, I'm in New Zealand, can you teach me how to do this to my horse? Oh, I'm in Africa and we don't have access to body workers, can you teach me how to do this? And I remember being in the shower and I was like, no one's really teaching horse owners how to do equine massage, and more horse owners should do equine massage, because at the end of the day, I could only massage so many horses. And a lot of horses would be way better off if their owners could give them a massage once a week. And so I walked out of the shower and, I put my pajamas on at like 10 in the morning because it's Christmas time. And I told my dad, I was like, hey, I think that I'm going to like make a Facebook group and teach people how to massage horses for a living. And I think I'm going to like maybe make a subscription or something. And he was like, that sounds like a good idea. You should do that. And then I had maybe a couple hundred followers on Facebook and Instagram. So I knew that I needed to figure out how to market it. And I started to figure out how to use social media on both TikTok and Instagram. And luckily I had two best friends who really believed in me and believed in the project and believed in teaching horse owners how to massage. So with their help and their horses, and because actually, very sadly, so when I thought of the idea was December 2021, January 2022, like sometime in there, I was home for the holidays. Wesley died in April of 2022. So that was really, really sad, but it almost gave me even more reason to spread the message that he taught me, which is that horse owners should massage their horses, because our relationship was so based on that, and he was my why for so long. So I felt even more of the need to let his memory be spread and let his memory be honored by the life mission and the path that he sent me on, which was sharing this with other people. Anyway, so with two best friends, they're kind of badly behaved horses, kind of goodly behaved horses, an iPhone, and a $15 mic from Amazon, we made Equine Massage 101. And that was really, really cool. And I'll say the process of making the online course, I lost hair. It was a bad time. But the process of gaining a following on social media and getting to teach a lot of people and getting to see how much it helped their horses, the way I was able to help Wesley and the way it changed their relationship with their horses, the way my relationship with Wesley changed, was really, really special. And Equine Massage 101 really took off in the fall and in the winter of 2022. The fall of 2022, I realized that I needed help. So I did hire my assistant, Brittany, who was also my mentee. And I mentored her, and she's become a very, very successful equine body worker. Since I've been able to mentor her, it's been really cool to watch. And then in the spring of 2023, I was like, I need to hire a big girl person to really manage my life. Not just an administrative assistant who can help me fill in some stuff. I wanted to launch a podcast to continue to be able to serve the equestrian community. And I wanted someone who could help propel me into a bigger picture and a bigger sort of impact. And that's when I hired Allie. And I started the No Bucks Given podcast.
I'm so thankful for that point and that milestone in your journey, because this is the best job that I've ever had.
And then most recently this year, I got my first opportunities to do paid brand trips. So I got to go to Wellington on a brand trip with partnership I have, Pulse PEMF, which was really fun. And they did a brand shoot. And I felt like a model, which was a little bit out of my element, but very, very fun. And then I got to, on my podcast, interview some of the people I admire most in the horse world, and including Dr. Hillary Clayton and Michael Klemke, among others. And then I also got to go to Africa because a really incredible horsewoman, Felicia Church, reached out to me about her Kenyan riding safari and asked me if I would come and work on her horses. And so she took me out to do an African riding safari with them, and I got to massage horses in Kenya. And then I also directly afterwards, got to go massage my best friend, who's a 5-star eventer, her horse in France at the World Young Event Horse Championships. So I got to cross the milestone twice over of massaging horses and riding horses on a different continent. So that was a really, really fun milestone to hit in my business this year.
It really was very cool. You guys should go check out some of that content on Maija's social media if you haven't already. But to kind of take it back, like, I love that so many of your milestones are tied to the people who are closest to you in your life. All that is to say, it's just so nice to see your authenticity bring success to your business through these relationships that you've cultivated. Your success in large part comes from a place of real passion. You really set out with a goal to help as many horses in the world as possible. So along those lines, maybe we can talk a little bit about the strategies and mindset that led to your success, and starting with the first steps you took to build your client base as you were getting started.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's really important to think about in-person networking, number one, when it comes to building any business, especially the horse business. I think that a lot of horse people can be inherently a bit conservative or distrustful because there is so much snake oil, to be honest, out there. I wouldn't say necessarily in like all the time hands-on practitioners, but there are a lot of things when it comes to horses that maybe aren't super legitimate that I think people are pretty naturally skeptical of. And I also think that the hard thing about equine massage therapy specifically is that because it's not regulated at all in the United States, there's no sort of standard. So there are tons of not very good equine massage therapists out there. There are a lot of equine massage therapists out there who might help a horse relax, but that's basically all that they're going to do. They're probably not going to help a horse go better. And then I think that a lot of people also just view massage therapy as kind of like a spa treatment, something like that, instead of a way that they can find real lasting pain relief and improved performance, because a lot of people won't even indulge in massage therapy for themselves. So, what I wanted to find were, number one, I wanted to just start to make a name for myself because I knew how effective I was. Because as I learned from my mentors, Wesley was going better and better and better and better. And this was a horse who really should not have been as capable as he was. So I knew that I was effective and I knew that I could make this as a business. Or better yet, I knew that I could help a lot of horses have real lasting change, which unfortunately in our industry is kind of rare. It's kind of rare for there to be massage therapists who are really, really effective in the horse world because there are just so many who are undereducated. So what I did is I connected with a lot of horse people in my area, both through the barn that I was at and through different horse shows I went to. And I even went and worked in other barns, and I went and volunteered at shows. I basically just tried to get in front of as many horse people as I could and connect with them. But all of that is to say, the first thing I really focused on, it was in-person networking. I made sure to get everyone's phone numbers and reach out to them. And I started small. Like the first thing that I did was I offered an in-barn special to the barn that I had my horse at. I offered them a cheaper service of massage therapy. And I asked everyone to spread the word. And then I started posting on social media a bunch about, me working on horses. And I would tag the owners, and then they would share the post with their horse in it, looking really relaxed. And a lot of the time that would get other people kind of interested because, the horse looks so relaxed and happy. They'd say like, oh, I want to do that for my horse. And maybe the horse owner would say in the post like, oh, after Maija massaged my horse, we won. Our dressage score was like way improved from last time. I really think he felt, he really felt way better after Maija worked on him. Like I'd make sure to, after After I worked on a horse, I would text the owner a couple days later and ask them how they felt, and I would screenshot their response with their permission and post it and say, like, look at how much this helped this horse. I'm so excited. I was so happy I was able to help them. I'd say stuff like that and like really leverage the few clients that I was able to initially get just in my own barn who were friends and people I just knew. I really leveraged those first people to snowball. Because the thing about small businesses is they grow slowly and then all at once. Clients tend to be pretty exponential as long as you have a good service, because everything relies on word of mouth. And word of mouth is so great. It's so effective in all businesses, but especially in the horse world when people tend to be a little bit more skeptical. So the more you can just kind of say to your, the one or two clients you have, or even the clients you don't have, like even if you just have friends in the horse world and you say like, hey, I do have like I have a couple slots available this month I'd like to get filled up. So if you know anyone who's looking, or if you know anyone who, their horse needs a massage, please just be letting your friends know, or, hey, I know, Teddy is feeling way better after I worked on him this month. I know we have our appointment set up for next month. In the meantime, can you ask around at your barn and see if anyone else wants to get their horse worked on that day? I love to get, a couple horses lined up in every barn. Doing simple things like that and just really making the most of your first clients is a really great way to start. And then the cool thing is that because the quality of my work was so high and I was able to help my first clients so much, people get really excited when you work on their horses and they feel so good afterwards. That's a really addicting feeling to a lot of clients. So first of all, that makes them want to be really loyal, consistent customers to you. That makes them want to see you every other week or once a month or whatever it is. And then the other thing is that those people are really, really happy to kind of sing your praises around the horse world because they finally found someone who works. There aren't a lot of people who, as I said earlier, are super good and are really effective. So a lot of the time, those customers are naturally really happy to refer you as word of mouth. So, I would say for anyone who's listening to this and starting out, it's really important that you're good, that you have good quality techniques. And then it's also important for you to treat your first customers like gold and to really rely on and encourage word of mouth marketing.
That's excellent advice. It's so important that you, number one, have a product that's really great or a service that people can sing your praises about, and then not being afraid to ask them to do that for you, which is such an important reminder to, I think a lot of us often feel like it's weird to brag about yourself or put yourself out there in business. It's really important that you do that.
And I think a lot of people forget how much other people are willing and happy to help out people starting their business and small business owners. There's so much to be said for how much people love supporting small businesses. So yeah, I think that's a great way to look at it, Allie. I think I agree with you. I think a lot of people, especially women, are kind of hesitant to promote themselves or to ask for anything. And the thing is that if you just sit at home and stare at your phone, you're probably not going to get any clients.
I can guarantee that's
clients
not going to happen for you.
Yeah, the thing is people are really, really busy, so they're not thinking about you, so I'm a huge believer in, I follow up with my clients all the time. And for my mentor, both of my mentors actually, I'm very well known to harass people. I will just reach out to them. I mean, I do it in a fun, easygoing way. I'm not hey, I need you to line up 6 horses at your barn and it's going to be this price. Obviously I'm not doing that, but, I'll reach out to my friends and I'll say hey, I'm doing this special, or hey, I learned this new modality. I think it would be really good for your horse because of XYZ. I know that they have this issue. Do you want to book a session? Or, hey, thank you so much for doing this. I'm going to send you a link to my Facebook. If you wouldn't mind, I would super appreciate it if you would leave a review. It really, really helps my business. And then I'll remind them a couple of times to leave a review. I'll be oh my gosh, I know you're so busy. No worries if you haven't gotten to it, but just whenever you, have a chance. Even if you just like hit the 5 stars and you don't write anything, it's super helpful. You know, I don't think there's anything wrong with bugging people a little bit, especially if you think about like every time you open your email, how many sales emails do you have there? You know, none of those companies, none of those businesses think to themselves, oh, I'm bothering them, I should stop. No, they're businesses. They're selling. That's the whole fucking point.
God, yeah, that's such an important reminder. I think the psychology behind that, it's been, you probably can correct me if I'm wrong on this number, but I think you have to get in front of people like 26 times before they remember, will act on something.
Well, so what the research used to say was you had to touch someone, like you had to be in front of someone 7 times before they remembered you or had any sort of recognition for you. But that research was done decades ago. And now with the amount we're exposed to on social media and advertising, the number now has gone up to more around 30 times.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So you need to be in front of people a lot. And basically any ability you have to have exposure is incredibly important. So that's why it's important to do in-person events where you're just in front of people. You know, the thing I did at the beginning of my business is I just made it a fucking point to be there. And that's kind of how I was with my business, is I was just always around horse people. Like I would just hang out at the barn massaging my horse. And people would be like, oh, hey, what are you doing? And I'd be like, oh, hey. And, you know, Wesley would be sitting there licking and chewing and having a great time. You know, I would just go to the shows and I'd be volunteering. I'd just be there. Or I'd watch rides and I'd be like, oh, my God, that was great. You know, I would reconnect with people I hadn't seen in months or in years. And they'd be like, oh, you know, I'd make sure to always wear my business logo where, you know, I'd just be there. I was just around. You know, you have to stay front of mind for people. The best, and it's really effective if you do it in person. It's so much more impactful than social media. But another really good way to do that is social media. It is important to have a social media presence. A lot of people are shocked to hear this. I don't talk about this a lot, but before I started my business, I had social media deleted off of my phone. I didn't have Facebook or Instagram. And it was before TikTok. And I remember talking to one of my very first clients who, for a living, managed, she was a stockbroker, I believe, or she managed really wealthy people's portfolios, financial portfolios. And a lot of these people were businesses. And, you know, for a living, she looked at businesses and how successful they were. And she told me, she was like, there is no world now where you cannot have a social media as a business. You have to have social media. Because I told her, I was like, I don't want to do it. And she was like, you have to do it. It's not a choice. You have to. And so that's why I got started, and I kind of did it unwillingly, but as I slowly started to pick up pace and learn how to do it, and trust me, I did it really badly for a long time. If anyone wants to laugh, they can scroll all the way back on my Instagram, and it's pretty bad. Like all the posts are bad, the text is bad, the pictures are bad, whatever. But I will say, being on social media, it's important. That sort of exposure is important. It's important to be in front of people.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And be top of mind.
Absolutely. And something I want to encapsulate all of that in person and online. I feel like for your own success, to just be around, but you also have to be likable, right? Like you just want, you want people to want you to be around, right? So, and I think that's something that, you know, like... I mean, as a small business owner myself, I'm trying to figure out my business, but you know, my background's in entertainment. So working in the entertainment industry, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get hired for a job because the people like you. Like the personality hire is kind of a joke, a meme on the internet now, but it's really pretty true in real life. So, and what you can do, like, just be your authentic self and rely on those connections you have and be genuine, right? Like if you're out here to help horses and help people, you're coming from a genuine place, that is only going to serve you in helping build and grow your business.
Right. Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, you don't want to just like go to the barn and then just like stare at people and wait for them to pay to massage your horse, of course. You know, you want to be around and you want to give them a compliment, like watch their ride at a show and say, oh my God, you guys look great, you know, or ask them like, hey, what's new with you and your horse? Or, you know, what's going on? It's such a good point, Allie. You want to be authentic and you want to be a good person who does genuinely care. You know, you don't want to, like, the first thing out of your mouth when you meet someone is, hey, I'm a massage therapist. Will you pay me to work on your horse? Like that's not, that's not going to look very good. But you can always, if you're around and people know you're a massage therapist and you let people know you're a massage therapist, you're going to be the person they think of when they're riding their horse and they're a little bit grumpy. They might say, "Hey, Maija, would you mind just like putting your hands on Flash really quick and seeing if you think his back is sore?" And then you can say, "Yeah, his back is feeling a little bit sore. It wouldn't be a bad idea to, run him past your vet, but I think it'd be a great, in the meantime, I definitely think it would be a good idea for him to get worked on." And this sort of issue a lot of the time resolves best if they get worked on at least 3 times in a row. It's great to like be around and serve your community. And then the other thing that did really, really boost my business at the beginning of it, and then we can probably move on from the very beginning of my business, but I did put on an educational seminar in my area for free. I called it key muscles involved in performance and how to stretch them. And I remember it was so cool. Like I was so early on in my career still, but 60 people showed up, which was crazy. And from that seminar, I got a ton of clients, a lot of whom I still have today. One of the people I got from that seminar actually as a client is Sydney Saleh, who has been on this podcast. She's now a Steuben's outfitter, and she's actually in my wedding. She's one of my bridesmaids. So it's just very funny. Like the more connections you can build in the horse community, the better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so going back to your story a little bit, for people like you who might feel like they're behind because of their background, for example, like you dropping out of college, how did your business take off, and how can you use your failures to your advantage to bring yourself success?
Someone DM'd me today and said that he really liked a blog I posted recently about starting out as an equine massage therapist. And he said that he feels really like lost at times in the industry because he's only been in the industry for 3 years. And he said that he feels like he's going up against people who have a lifetime of experience in this. And I said that it's important to look at it instead of think about going up against people. Think about your life experience and what has uniquely led you to this path and how that is going to help other people in your journey, whatever that looks like. It could be that, even if you have a background in corporate and you're saying, I want to walk away from my corporate job and I want to work with horses for a living, well, I can basically guarantee that you're going to be one of the most organized horse people out there. You're probably going to be incredibly good at tracking everything in your business. You're probably always going to be on time. You're probably going to have excellent management strategies and recommendations, or you're going to be incredibly professional in your business. If you're a teacher who wants to be a massage therapist, I think that you're going to be incredibly good at talking to your clients, and you're probably going to be incredibly patient with your human and horse clients. I think that every single person has really incredible lessons throughout their life that are going to help other people. It's just a matter of looking at yourself and saying, what about me is special that I can leverage to be my success story? And there is someone said something once, that was it was so cute. They said, your mess is your message. So whatever you fail at is probably whatever you're going to have the coolest, most amazing comeback story around. So, I dropped out of college and now I get to tell this story about how I went from being a college dropout to a 6-figure equine body worker. I hope that whatever your failure is, or whatever your life circumstances that makes you feel like you're not going to be successful, I hope that is all the more reason that you are.
That was so well said. And lovely. Yeah, you learn more from your failures than you'll learn from anything else.
Yeah, and I've learned a lot this year. And I think at the end of the day, too, I think that we all sit on the shoulders of giants. I wouldn't be here, especially be so successful at such a young age, if there weren't really incredible massage therapists who went before me and taught me what they know and gave me, my two mentors that I worked with so much one-on-one, and then also my business mentors. All of those people were in their 40s and 50s and even 60s, and they took years and decades of experience and poured it into me. And now I get to turn around and take all of that information and synthesize it and apply it to my life experience. And it turns out in a way, in a method, in a system that is incredibly effective and it works. But, I also hope that in the future, I'm able to pour into people in a way that allows them, like, I hope when I'm in my 40s and 50s, I do it now, but I hope throughout my entire career, I'm able to take all of my life experience and everything I've learned and pour it into other people so that they can improve on what I have figured out doing my entire life and just continue to help more and more horses. So I guess there isn't any one thing I'm most excited about, but I'm just excited to see what the future holds and what, not only what I figure out in the world, but what the people after me figure out.
That's such a good point. And one thing I really admire about you and your business is that you make it a habit to keep in touch with people outside of your field as well, like veterinarians, and keep up with other modalities and science behind all things relating to horse health, right? Like it only helps you be that much more well-rounded and well-educated to learn from all the professionals around you and that you might be working with as an equine body worker. So that's really exciting to think about how much further the science might get in the next few years.
Yeah. And a good note on the science actually is I really would love to see more research around equine massage therapy and more equine, like, holistic therapies in general, like more equine, more PEMF. I would love to see more research into holistic modalities in the horse world. So that is one thing, like, super specifically I would love to see.
That's awesome. I would love to see that too. Okay. So I do want to take it back a little bit to what we were talking about earlier. Of course, in-person networking is so important, but the social media aspect has really become like the marketing vehicle for small businesses like yours. So can we talk a little bit how marketing yourself on social media is so important and what people can realistically do to get themselves out there? Yeah,
I think that the thing with this is you have to figure out what your intention is. So my social media, when I was using social media to get more clients, looked very different than how it looks now, where my mission is to educate and then invite people to join me inside of my online courses if they desire to. So the first thing is figuring out your intention, because those two things are going to look very different. And, I think that the mistake a lot of people make is they look at someone like me and they say like, oh, Maija has all these followers and she has this cool business. I'm just going to copy her social media. And it's like, first of all, please don't copy me, but, whatever. But second of all, it's probably not going to be very effective for you because it's not you who's speaking and it doesn't come across as authentic. And then it's also not for the same purpose. If your mission is to build a clientele, your social media should be about your clientele and what makes you attractive to be hired as an equine massage therapist for people. So that might look like, posting client reviews. That might look like talking about your education, but in a very specific lens. You don't just want to say I got certified from XYZ and I did this class and that class. You want to say like, because I did this certification and it had this element, I feel uniquely prepared to help your horse in XYZ way, because I now have this level of depth to my knowledge that's really going to help you and your horse and your partnership come to the next level. So there are just a lot of really specific ways that you need to position yourself. And that's something that we're going to get into more in 6 Steps to Six-Figure Equine Bodywork Business. So definitely make sure to tune in for that free masterclass, because there's no gatekeeping here.
That's why we love Maija. We're just really trying to help educate and uplift the equestrian community, and help you guys get to where you want to go. Because there would be nothing better than to have more qualified equine body workers in the United States. There just aren't enough out there, and especially not in regions of the country like where I live. And yeah, to reiterate your point, Maija, having your own unique perspective, a point of view, is what people are going to want to work with you for. So don't be shy. Tell your own story and let that be the thing that brings people into your world. That's great advice. So as we wrap up, are there any last thoughts you want to leave our listeners with?
I want to ask you a question. So you came into my business when I was already pretty established. I was already a 6-figure body worker when you met me. But you, at this point, have been in my business for a long time. You've seen me in many different elements, working on clients, behind the scenes, working on Instagram stuff, behind the scenes, working on courses, during a course launch that goes badly. And I'd be curious as to if you think that, from your year with me, is there any key lesson that you've learned that would be helpful to people starting on this journey?
Yeah, there's several. And I think the biggest one, which we already kind of touched on, is don't give up. There's always something to learn from failure. I can't tell you, I've been with you for almost 2 years in the spring. Every time we've done something, we've learned from it and been able to do it better the next time. So I think resilience and not being afraid to fail is more important than trying to get the perfect thing out there and taking years and years and years to get it done. There is something to making sure that your product, whatever you're putting out there, is intentional and it is useful to the people that you're trying, knowing your audience and making sure that your product is serving that audience well. But there is also something to not overthinking everything and letting that be a roadblock to your success or your failure, because you'll learn either way. That's probably the biggest thing, is that you can overthink something forever, but you're never going to find success if you keep spiraling and don't put an actionable plan out there.
Yeah, it's important to execute, refine.
Correct. So as we're wrapping this podcast up, for people who are looking to learn more about how to make their businesses thrive, we have a few things coming up that I'd love for you to highlight for them.
Absolutely. We have an incredible free masterclass, 6 Steps to Six-Figure Equine Bodyworker. That free masterclass, again, it's free and it's so much good information. I literally don't know anyone else who's teaching anything like this in the equestrian world, much less giving so much away. I'm giving tons of really good information away in this podcast, so you don't want to miss it. And I hope you can be there live so that you can ask questions and connect with other people. That's going to be December 10th, and there will be a live recording available if you can't attend. And then we are going to be launching Equine Body Worker Business Academy, and that will be starting January 1st. Early enrollment is going to open up soon. So if you want to get on the wait list and make sure that you don't miss your spot, Allie is going to drop the link for that. She's also going to drop the link for the free 6 Steps to Six-Figure Equine Body Worker Masterclass in the show notes. It's also going to be plastered all over my Instagram and on my Instagram stories. So make sure to check that out and make sure to see me there, because I'd love to see you. Thanks for taking the time, Allie and Isabel. If you loved this podcast, please subscribe and review it, as well as sharing it on your social media to help other equine body workers or people who want to become equine body workers live their best life. Thank you so much.